Welcome back to another SCARFS video. This is another one on A for agreement. In particular, this one is talking about lack of agreement with tenses, as in past, present and future tense, when there's a confusion there and the tenses shift throughout the sentence when we didn't mean for them to shift. Okay, this is quite a common problem, and I think the easiest way to sort of address it or help somebody else address it is to, first of all, tackle a couple of simple examples of it in short sentences so that you understand the process that you need to go through, and then start looking at your own work. So here's two simple examples. Not only is Bob a good student, but he was also popular. Now, as I said in our introductory video, the way to work out if there's a lack of agreement with tenses is you look at the first verb and see whether it's past or present tense. In this case, it's the verb to be. He is, and so that is present tense. So unless it's a deliberate change, it should be present tense all the way through. So not only is Bob a good student, but he is also popular. Okay, or we could make it the contraction, he's also popular. Okay, so now we've got agreement between these. They're both in present tense. Okay, here's another example. You could have stayed at the party if you feel like it. Okay, so you could have is past tense. So we need to make sure that the end of it is also the past tense, this verb here. So we need to make this felt. That's an easy fix. You could have stayed at the party if you felt like it. Okay, if we wanted it all present tense, it would be you can stay at the party if you feel like it. Okay, then they're both in present tense. Now they're pretty simple. When we run into issues is when the sentences are long, because often by the time we get to the end, we're kind of lost track of what tense it was at the beginning, and that's when we can slip into the incorrect tense. So it's the same process, but if you have a longer sentence like this, I'll show you how there can be a big distance between the two elements that you need to compare. As they walked, so here's our first verb that shows that we're in the past tense. As they walked through their old school, admiring the changes and sharing memories, they suddenly hear the voice of their old English teacher. Doesn't sound that bad. And the reason that the lack of agreement is kind of camouflaged is because the next verb is so far away from the verb walked, and that's hear. Okay, they suddenly hear. That's present tense. So to make it agree, we need to change this to past tense. So they suddenly heard. As they walked through their old school, admiring the changes and sharing memories, they suddenly heard the voice of their old English teacher. So now these are all perfectly in agreement. Now, the last thing I wanted to say to you is I've said a couple of times that this is a problem when it's not intentional. It is possible to intentionally change the tense, and sometimes we want to compare, something that happened in the past with something that is happening in the present. So, for example, if you had a sentence like, she was excited at first, we're in the past tense, okay, because that's describing that when this event first started happening, she was excited, but that's worn off now. And so now we're talking about the present tense, so we could say, but things are different now. Okay, so past tense, present tense, but this is deliberate and it's grammatically acceptable because we're saying back then she was excited, now things are different. Okay, so deliberate, unintentional. That's the difference. Okay, that's tenses. Thank you.